Okay, so how I got into senior care, it was sort of the circuitous route that most of us take, right? I've always been in an entrepreneurial position, creating and owning my own business or being a part of a creation of something. So when a friend of mine who had recently purchased a senior care downsizing firm, she asked me if I would help her. So I thought she meant business consultation. So I said, sure, I'd be happy to help you. Well, she meant labor. She wanted me to pack boxes and move her people. So as it turned out, I became the liaison between her and her clients because I was able to interpret contracts and understand contracts and also have that communication to sort of ease the anxiety of the clients during such an important time in their life. And that showed me what a heart I had for seniors. So at the same time, I am the daughter of seniors who need extra care and extra help. And it just sort of opened a new window for me of opportunity, a new place in my heart that I didn't know that I had this heart for seniors. And so it all started. I am forever grateful for getting into this industry and meeting the fine folks in this area who serve our seniors and who have been instrumental in helping me pursue this career and support me along the way.
Well, welcome. Hello, this is Gina
And this is Don.
with Focused Healthy Family. This is podcast number 159, and today we have the privilege of talking with Sharon Willis. She is the marketing director at Ranson Ridge Assisted Living and Memory Care Facility. She's also the founder and director of operations for Prime Source Educational Services. She's been an entrepreneurial. She's also worked managing and directing at Right at Home In Care and Associates. And we're welcome to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you today.
And we'll put the your whole bio on the description when we go up. We try to shorten it a little bit in the broadcast. So
Great.
anyway,
Mhm.
So, um, now you're the marketing director at Ranson Ridge.
Yes.
And first, let's just start basic. What is an assisted living facility?
That's such a great question. Assisted living is that space between independent living, where people are living on their own and pretty much taking care of themselves at home. And then there's a long, wide range of assisted living, and then there's skilled nursing. Skilled nursing is where there's a 24/7 round-the-clock nursing care for those who need that high level of care. So we're that wide space in between. We never deny anybody because they're too independent, but we cannot veer into the skilled nursing area. So we are that organization that helps people maintain their independence by supporting them where they do need that support. They can get a kind of an a la carte menu of services. Some have very little or no services. Some have up to that line of skilled nursing. So it's a wide range, varies for everybody who is here.
And tell us a little bit about how memory care fits into this.
Yeah, so memory care, again, that foundation is important first, whether it's independent, assisted, or skilled nursing. And then memory care is on top of any of those. You can get memory care, receive memory care wherever, whatever your living situation. But in our particular community, in assisted living and assisted living with memory care, our memory care residents are still there's a high functioning physical ability, and of course the cognitive ability is where we're focused to support them. There's a short-term memory loss, long-term memory struggles, and as you know, with the dementia population, at some point and along the journey of that dementia population or the dementia experience, the body can forget how to do things as well, which then encompasses the physical being as well.
so when you talk about memory care being on top of all of those, you can be receiving some memory care when you're in assisted living or when you're at the other portions of the facility, different facilities. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. You can receive memory care at home or seek out memory care. I mean, there's some great organizations that provide memory care. For our folks who are at home or who are living independently, you can have, in-home care for memory care. Then, of course, at assisted living, at our assisted living, we do provide that support for memory care right here. We do have the secured memory care unit. We do have our activities for engagement that really stimulate the memory, the brain, keep our folks engaged. We have that level of medical care that's necessary as well. And then, of course, if somebody's in skilled nursing where they need round-the-clock care because their bodies have also declined, then there's memory care that's available to support that aspect of them as well.
So just want to ask a question. I went through this recently with my father, but for our viewers, our listeners, when someone comes to the facility, how is it determined whether they're in memory care or regular assisted living?
Yeah, great question. Well, we do an independent assessment on any of our prospective residents anyway. So for our community, in order to go to memory care or be placed in memory care, one has to have a dementia diagnosis. Without that diagnosis, we cannot put somebody in memory care. The other side of that is not everybody with a dementia diagnosis goes to memory care. There's lots of different levels of functioning with the dementia diagnosis. Certainly it's a long range, a long scale of that journey, and people on the newer end may still have high functioning and may just need a cue or just may know they have the disease. They may not need the support of memory care. And then, of course, you move along that continuum of the dementia journey and the decline, depending on where somebody is on that decline, that will determine where we think they're best served in our community.
And I know from my experience, most memory cares are locked units because one big factor is the wandering risk, the concern of them leaving the building, leaving the unit.
Yeah, so safety is the primary concern, right? So wandering is a common symptom, a common behavior of our memory care folks or our dementia folks, and we want to keep them safe. So a locked unit is one of the things that determines our memory care. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of curious that, I go back quite a while and thinking about this, that is the idea of nursing facility or nursing homes, is that kind of out of sync now? Are we going to this like the independent assisted and all of that? Is that kind of changing that, or is that still around? That you probably know too, Gina.
Yeah, I think that there is a new version of things. There's, so many different living situations and opportunities now. I think the idea of a nursing home, which is maybe what our parents thought of for their parents, is more like what we think of as skilled nursing right now, though I cannot speak for the
Oh,
skilled nursing platform. But skilled nursing is, 24/7 nursing care, and it's for those people who do need that support around the clock. Assisted living is not that. Assisted living is still a choice. We are not a doctor ordered living condition. It's still a choice. And as I, had said earlier, we want to promote people's independence and support that, not take that away from them. And we want to support people where they do need the support. So I think that the notion of nursing home, is an older notion and hopefully one that's fading. And with the new options of living independent, when I say independent living, I mean both, living at home, in your own home as one would, or there's lots of independent living communities for our seniors now. So there's lots of versions even of independent living. So that's where, you can, when you're living independently, you can certainly garner care at home if needed. Or you can choose assisted living, again, still a choice. It is not a doctor ordered necessary living condition. And then, of course, there's skilled nursing, which I think people would more relate it to the nursing home idea.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I don't like to equate it at all because I can't speak on behalf of skilled
yeah,
nursing,
yeah.
And, years ago, there weren't assisted living
Oh,
facilities and
no.
independent living facilities. And so that was, if you couldn't be at home, people didn't come into your home. Yeah, there was
Right.
skilled nursing. And so,
Right.
and I kind of, I've been a therapist over 30 years and I remember assisted living's kind of coming to be in North Carolina and I just remember going in and it was a very different environment.
Yes,
Um, and, yeah, just a different feel. And I know a lot of people of our parents' generation and older have a stigma with that idea of a nursing home,
yeah,
especially when you
yeah,
think about kind of an old style nursing home.
right,
And, before there were better protections in place for people that it's kind of that image of what they don't want to go to. And
right.
it can have
Yeah,
a negative
yeah,
connotation, but there are wonderful, because of the advancements now that when they build a skilled nursing facility, it often looks similar to an assisted living and they've
exactly.
making it more home-like and more
Yeah.
inviting. But like you
Yeah,
said, the difference in having that need for that
higher level of care.
nursing staff. And
Yeah,
I know when I ask trying to find out, I evaluate people in short-term rehab and trying to figure out if they live in independent living or assisted, because sometimes even the doctor's summary doesn't get it right.
yeah,
And what I'll often ask them is, do you administer your own medication or does someone do it for you? Because that
yeah.
seems for the most part, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you're in independent living, you're administering your own medicines versus assisted living, the staff is going to be doing that for you.
Yes, that's in general my understanding as well. I know we here at Ranson Ridge, we do manage all of our residents' meds. So we are administering their meds now in independent livings. Again, when you're at home, whatever your process is at home, when you're in an independent community, whatever their process is, I am an independent does not provide that service.
Mhm.
However, they may provide support for that service.
Right.
But
Right.
it's not the same as coming to assisted living where that service is included in what we're doing here at assisted living.
What other options are there that might be different than independent? That you talked about the medication. Is there other things that does that they wouldn't get in
Oh,
independent or
yeah,
on their
yeah.
own?
Kind of
Yeah.
some. Mhm.
Yeah, we have a whole host of things, as I said, everyone who is a prospect is going to be assessed for their needs. And that's how we determine, can we support somebody? The one thing that
Hmm.
qualifies people to come to assisted living is, can we support you? So your activities of daily living, your ADLs, those are important things we're looking at. Can you shower independently? Do you need a queue to shower? Do you need a shower standby just for safety and security? Do you actually need shower help? Same with getting dressed and your grooming. Dietary, we have everyone go to the dining rooms. We dine small restaurant style here in our community. And so we have to we have to be aware of somebody's specialized diet. And by that I mean any swallowing issues, any do you need your food? Do you need help cutting your food? Do you need special utensils to assist you in eating? Depending on different health states and disease states, how is the arthritis? Does that allow you to hold a regular fork? So there are lots of things that we do to maintain the dignity and the support of people who may need that particular care. Also in assisted living, I mean, we have a very active activities calendar that's appropriate. We have it for both regular assisted living and our assisted living with memory care population. So that is organized and chosen to support the needs of the community, to support the needs of the residents. So in our memory care, we do have a lot of memory and music and movement. There's such a correlation between movement and memory and music and memory. So those are things that we like to offer. And the same with assisted living, we have lots of games and mind stimulating games and entertainment and cooking club and walking club and reading club, lots of activities to meet the needs of our community. And I always say, if we don't have it and you want it, please ask us. We're happy to, we're happy to share that. We try to meet people's social needs, their mental and psychological needs, their nourishment needs, their entertainment needs, their spiritual needs. So we have a lot of different options for people to participate in.
And to me, that's always one of the big benefits. When we see people in rehab, they often come in from home and maybe their family's concerned about them returning home. It's often because they've had a fall.
Yeah,
And that sense of community, that being able to participate in activities without having to leave the building, people coming in,
yeah.
um, the social aspect of things, to me is really enhancing people's quality of life. Um,
Absolutely. And, I'm glad you brought that up because that is so important. For some of us in the later years, and maybe a spouse has died or the neighbors have died, or, you have chosen or have had to move away from your normal living condition, your normal area. Maybe all your friends were there, your family was there, I don't know. But coming to assisted living, you're going to find your peers, you're going to find the folks that are in your sort of age group who are living the same life challenges and journey that you are now. Everyone here has such a beautiful story of their life, and I love that they get to tell that story to one another and to us on a daily basis. And just find their peers and find that place of socialization. The isolation at home alone can be
mhm,
detrimental. When we think about COVID too, COVID is
Oh
still
my.
on the landscape of our psyche, in the
mhm,
landscape of our psyche. And when I think about COVID and the implications of that isolation and loneliness, and so many people are still coming saying, oh my gosh, mom hasn't been the same since COVID when she didn't get to see, anybody. So those are all important things. That's part of our dining experience too. We do like our residents to go to dining for their meals. We do not
mhm,
prefer to have them eating in their rooms because that is an opportunity for socializing. That is an opportunity to return to some type of normalcy and enjoying a meal. I think about breaking bread, over the table. Sharing a meal is such an important thing.
mhm.
So assisted living provides that social opportunity in a big way.
Sure. And, from a staff perspective, just as thinking as an occupational therapist, it also gives the staff an opportunity to see, are they eating? How much are they eating? Are
Yeah,
they having difficulty? And I know places usually either have in-house therapy or they utilize home health therapy services
right.
to address any difficulties that might need. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Are they eating? And now we know they're getting regular nourishment. If
Mhm.
somebody's isolated at home and, it's not always fun or easy to make dinner for yourself, but here, and so they may be missing meals or they may
Mhm.
forget to eat meals or they may not be eating the most nutritious food. There's so many different ways that we can sort of fail our bodies in that way. And so here, we are monitoring our residents. We are feeding nutritious meals every day. We are making sure people are eating, so that helps with the overall health as well.
Yeah, it can be such a big factor. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about Ransom Ridge. What makes it unique?
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely community. So we are assisted living and assisted living with memory care. We are a Sabre healthcare community. And we are on the same campus as Lakeside Health and Rehab. So that is skilled nursing and rehab. So it provides a nice continuum of care across the board should somebody need that care as well. But Ranson Ridge itself, we are one-story living. We're no stairs, no steps, no elevators. We're a medium-sized community. We have space for 80 residents, 20 memory care, 60 assisted living. So it's a nice mix and not too overwhelming, but yet not too underwhelming either. And I always say one of the things or the things that we do best are care for your loved one. They're going to get good care. They're going to be loved. And we also welcome families. I am so grateful to be in this space at such a sacred time in families' lives. And so to welcome families in that warm way and assure them that their loved one is going to be cared for well, their loved one is going to be loved, and they too can come and now be the son, the daughter, the neighbor, or the nephew, whatever, and not have to worry about, the heavy lifting and some of the things that we were talking about, the meals, the care. Let us do that work. Let us take good care of them. So we do that really well. We're tucked down here in the woods a little bit. We still feel
Mhm.
like we're kind of off the beaten path. And it really matters, I think, to have this green space around us. We have two courtyards. We have this wide open green space. for, the sidewalk around the building. I think that really matters for people, and for families as they come and visit. So, just the whole setting to me and how we're able to support families and loved ones with our care, our quality of care is, extraordinary.
Well, I was kind of curious. You are director of marketing, and I think we talked a little bit about this before. It's got to be. I don't know if it's a challenge to be able to, to market that, to do it, because you have such a beautiful place and a beautiful thing. I would think that's pretty easy to market, but how do you get the word out, or how do you get people to come into your place?
Yeah, good question. So one of the good things is, Ranson Ridge has a history rich in the community here in Huntersville. So we've been widely known here in Huntersville for a while. We've been here for 9 years now. So we have a great reputation and we're here. I am out with, I don't like to think of people as our, competitors. I consider them, referral partners in the market. Making sure that the people who do come to us or do go to others, that they get the care, they get the place that they need. So I make sure that our building and our brand is in the community. Churches, the Chamber of Commerce. I am on the board of directors of the Lake Norman Healthcare Network Forum, which is a nice gathering monthly of a lot of different aspects of the healthcare industry. So continually, being out in the community is a big deal. And of course, there's nothing better than word of mouth. Satisfied residents mean the world to us, and we get a lot of foot traffic, just because we've had such a successful blueprint over the years. And, continue to give, as I said, what we do well is give good service and love your loved one and welcome you. So I think that personalization still matters and means a lot to people.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. And like you said, with COVID, it was so isolating. It was really an exercise in how isolation negatively affects people, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And just inviting the family in. I know with the facility my dad was at, I always felt welcome when I went through those doors. He was on the memory care unit. They'd fill me in on, kind of what mood he was in for the day. And just knowing I was welcome there. Yeah,
Yeah.
just having that sense of support and community is so important. And
It is, and that communication with our families is really important too. I always say I am the daughter of, when I'm meeting with prospective clients and families, like I am you. I am the daughter of, and so I get it. I know how much gravity this decision holds. I also know what an emotional decision this is.
Mm.
And so to nurture people through that and to really understand that aspect of selling, I don't like to use a word, of helping people through the process of choosing what is the best place for mom, for dad, for our loved one. So I really get it. I can connect to our families and our prospects on that very deep level, which at the end of the day, we all want the best care for our loved ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
we want them to be safe and to be fed and to be
Yes,
looked after. And
yes.
like you mentioned, there's is it Lake Norman Healthcare, the skilled nursing facility that's
Lakeside Health and Rehab.
lakeside,
Yeah.
that's on the property, and just helping people understand, how that comes into play for residents.
Yeah, so again, there's that space of, after assisted living, if somebody graduates to a higher level of care, a higher need than that which assisted living can provide, then, skilled nursing is the next living situation. So we would, make that recommendation to our families and of course work hard to make sure that the loved one or the resident got to the place that they needed. Now that's the skilled nursing aspect of it. So that's a long-term, care home situation, you know what I mean? And then there is rehab on the property too. That's a shorter term rehab. For example, somebody, breaks a hip we're not putting that out there. We don't want that to happen to anybody, but it
Unfortunately, it's
does.
very common. Yeah.
Somebody breaks their hip or somebody, gets the flu or something and has to
Mhm.
go to the hospital, and then it's determined that they need rehab. We would, encourage them to look at Lakeside Health and Rehab, which is right on our property. We share some of the same therapists. We share the same, right now we share the same primary care physicians. So it's
Oh,
a lot
okay.
of familiarity for our residents in terms of staff and in location. And so then they're almost home,
Right.
So it makes for an easier transition. I mean, I think about having to move around now and, oh, I don't want to have to move up. I don't want to have to do that. Imagine if, you're forced to and you're in a declining health position, and, it's a tough gig. And so we want to provide that familiarity and as much comfort as possible for our residents.
That's wonderful because I know there's continuous care communities out there. I've worked at
Yeah,
several, and my mother lives at one. And
uh,
even though you're not that,
yeah,
I love that you have the same doctor for both places, because it does provide that continuity. Someone needs rehab services, like you said, sometimes they're in with an illness or whatever, exacerbation of something they have. And when you're over 75 and you're dealing with illness like this, it can take you a little bit to get back to where you were at
yeah,
before.
yeah,
And just knowing that, oh, it's right next door here,
yeah,
that's familiar to them if they see familiar faces. And, I've worked in places like that, and in prepping them to go back to assisted living, we've even been able to like walk them over to their apartment and run through the
absolutely.
tasks they need to do. And that convenience makes a big difference.
It does. That familiarity and a friendly face and a familiar face and knowing I'm almost home really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, and I think about it too is that because I know with your dad, when her dad was still at home, but then we had to move him up here, it was actually a very big relief for her mom. I mean, it's hard to say you want to love your your aging loved one, but at a certain point, letting go of that, and now, you've given them the spot to be able to hand over to somebody and say they're going to be taken care of, and you don't have to worry as much as they were. I think it gives a relief on both ends of it. The
Yeah.
person that's the caretaker who's taking care of them, plus also people that are going into the home.
Yeah, I think that too. And, as I said, I am the daughter of, and I always think, the most loving thing we can do is to get people the care that they need.
Hmm.
So I know as spouses, as children, as family members of loved ones who need care, and we're dutiful and we're responsible, and we all wish we could give the care at home,
Yeah,
But there are times when professional help is needed for whatever the reason is or whatever the family situation is. And so the most loving thing we can do is to get somebody the care that they need. And that doesn't mean that we are abdicating our responsibility or our duty or our vow to our families that I'll care for you forever. Because
Mhm.
in making that decision, you're still caring, you're still, in charge of that care per se.
Right.
So that has helped to relieve some families, I think, of that burden of, guilt,
yeah,
of
yeah,
not knowing
Sure.
what to do, and also of, relieved of the physical
Yeah.
demands, emotional, mental demands. And, as I said before, since we do the work here at Ranson Ridge, you get to come and enjoy your loved one now. And it
Mhm.
is peace of mind for you because you know they're safe here, you know they're well cared for. And your loved one will know that too. They feel safe and cared for here.
And I know my mom cared for my dad for quite a while.
Yeah,
And it really what kind of pushed us to talk to her about him moving to facility was her care and the toll it was taking on her.
yeah,
And I think someone at the facility even said, now you can be the wife again.
yeah,
You don't have to be the person taking him to the bathroom and doing all these things. And, medication was such a big thing. My dad had Parkinson's, and so he had it multiple times a day. Yeah. And being able to take that burden off because people don't realize, they're caring for their spouse and it's draining on them and it's affecting their physical health. And I see couples all the time. One goes in the hospital, then the other one goes in the hospital. It takes a toll as much as we want to care for our loved one. We want to keep them home. Sometimes it can benefit the relationship.
Yeah, it can take a toll, and it also, also is quite frequent that it can lead to a detrimental situation, a crisis situation. If the caregiver gets ill or something, now what happens to the one who needs the care? So I always encourage families that are coming to look, timing is as important as anything as well. Try to make this decision and this move when you're not in a crisis situation. And that way it's, a little easier on everybody. That transition is easier. Plus your window of opportunity is wider when you're not in a crisis as well. You have a little bit of latitude with timing and location and all those sorts of things that when you're pressed, you're now subject to what's available and where and what time.
Right.
And I can't go out and see other places and oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And we can't afford it. And what do we do? And now mom's in the hospital, who's caring for dad at home? So it gets to be a lot. So timing and making these decisions, it's really important that we do it when we're not in a crisis situation.
Sure. And that's kind of what our podcast is all about, because that's I see that way too much working in short-term rehab. It's that crisis that brings them to these different decisions. And like you said, in healthcare, you don't get a lot of time to make these decisions, other than the hospital. You think you've got time. No, okay, they can move around now. They're leaving.
Yeah, time to go.
And
Yeah. By tomorrow, you need to figure out who to send them to. What?
Yeah, tomorrow's discharge date. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Understood, understandably so. Yeah.
And you talk about marketing for facilities, but because the baby boomer population is now reaching that age where they need these care and services, they can't build these facilities fast enough, right? There are many times when everybody's full, it's hard to find a place. As far as, like you said, if you can take the time to look at your different options and
Yeah. Yeah. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. It's the timing, it's, one's health, it's the family dynamic, it's certainly the finances, it's the choices of where to go and what to do. And, we still do have that sort of mentality or thought process that I want to age at home,
Yeah.
and we want that for as many people as that can happen for safely and reasonably,
Yeah.
And it's nice to know there's other places when they need that care. Is there anything you would recommend to people as they're considering assisted living for their loved ones, or any other?
Advice, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly come take a look before you're in a crisis situation. It
Yeah.
doesn't hurt to know your options,
Yeah.
and maybe be open to all the possibilities. As we started out in the podcast, there may be a thought that this could be one thing. It could be, oh my gosh, is that a nursing home? When you're going to learn that it's something totally different. So understand that there are a lot of options and possibilities. And one of the things I want to do is to educate our community on that. We're not for everybody. Everybody's not for us, though I know that, we're very, very good. We're excellent at what we do, but different people have different needs. And so I want to be that source of information and education for our community to make sure we can get the people to the right care that they need, whatever level that is. So yeah, have these for families, have these open dialogues as best and as much as you can. Sometimes it's not an easy topic to broach with your family, but do it in a kind and loving way. As I said, we're here to support people's independence, not take it from anyone. I also believe that the most loving thing we can do is to provide the care that people need. So have those types of conversations with your families. And I also find that for our families, how you lead with this is likely how your loved one is going to enter into it as well. So think of it from an open, possible situation rather than, oh my gosh, this is so traumatic and dramatic, and what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Sure.
Seek out the information, get educated, and go from there.
Yeah. I know it can be helpful for the loved ones who are assisting in this setup to go and look at the places first.
Absolutely. Come
Um,
take a look. Yeah, I always say that, come take a look, and then when you've narrowed it down to, I would say one, maybe one or two, then bring the prospective resident, because looking at a lot of places is just too confusing for some of
Sure.
our older adults who need our services. So come take a look, narrow it down, feel really good about your decision, and then share it with your loved one. And that's not to say don't share the process with them, because I think the
Sure.
more open dialogue that you have and the more conversations about this with your loved one for that preparedness is really key. Every family dynamic is different. But there are some things that we can do to open up the discussion and maybe ease this decision for those who maybe aren't as willing.
Right.
So maybe you could take just a moment here to share how they can reach you, what they can find out more about
Yes.
you.
Yes, we are Ranson Ridge Assisted Living and Assisted Living with Memory Care. We are in Huntersville. You can reach me. My phone number is 704-897-2872, or you can reach me by email. So it's my first name dot my last name at saberhealth.com. So it would be Sharon.Willis@saberhealth.com.
And we'll put all that information for people to see when wherever they're listening to this podcast or viewing it on YouTube, so they can learn more about the community where you work and support. And there any last things you'd like to say to our listeners that we haven't covered?
Yeah, just in terms of, finding us, we are also on Facebook, so you can find us at any Saber Healthcare Facebook. And, our physical address, 13910 Hunton Lane in Huntersville. And then just to our, I would love to hear from anybody and welcome you coming to see us. And then I just, I am very grateful to be on here today to talk about assisted living and other options, to talk about our community and just to talk about our senior population and our dementia population as well. They're obviously people and causes near and dear to my heart, and really feel grateful to be in this space with the both of you and also in this broader space of serving our community.
Well,
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate the work you do as well. And yes, seniors are very close to my heart, as I've worked in mostly senior care for my career. And yeah,
I'm getting close to that age.
Yeah, we're all heading there, right? We're all heading there.
I've had people I work with tell me, don't get old, I'm like, well, we're all on our path there.
Yeah, it's inevitable. We're all heading that way. And I just feel like embrace whatever, whatever stage you're at right now, embrace it, whether it's the young, the middle, or the old, because it's all inevitable.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Enjoy
changes.
it all.
And Saber Healthcare Group, I believe that's a pretty large organization. Is that?
Yeah, we're headquartered in Ohio, and there's a lot of profile here on the East Coast, the Southeast a lot. They have a large presence in the skilled nursing platform, and now in the assisted living. So you'll find maybe up the East Coast to Pennsylvania, Delaware, but I think a lot here in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. So yeah.
And there's a lot of different companies, and like you said, checking out some different options is important because different things work for different people.
Absolutely.
Well, again, Sharon, we thank you for being part of this.
Oh, thank you very much.
And
I would welcome the opportunity to come again if there's more we can talk about.
we will.
There's so many topics to
Yeah.
be discussed. And, I've spoken on assisted livings, but it's great having someone from a specific facility and, as a marketer, kind of how you're approaching it and that aspect of it. So yes, we love having you here, and sure, there might be an opportunity for another conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So this is our podcast for today. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to leave us a comment. We really would love to know more about what you would like to hear on here. Give us a like and a subscribe wherever you are listening. We're here to guide you through your journey caring for an aging loved one. Gina does her Ask the OT, which we're getting ready to put out coming really soon. I do my own weekly tapping session with EFT every Tuesday at 7 p.m. You're welcome to join us for that. You can find all of this on our podcast on our website of www.focushealthyfamily.com. You also can find us on Facebook at Focus Healthy Family, Instagram at Focus Healthy Family 1, and YouTube at Focus Healthy Family. Join us each Thursday when we produce this podcast in the morning, and you can find it on focusedhealthyfamilypodcast.com. And remember, how you speak to your children and your loved ones today shapes their future and yours.